Hi there, I'm Marla. My sister smirked and said, "We voted. You're not coming to the family gathering." And just like that, I was cut off. No invitation, no explanation. Worse, I paid for the whole trip. $10,000, gone. But that wasn't the beginning. It was just the moment I finally opened my eyes. Turns out, they'd been rewriting the truth about me for years, behind my back, in emails, even to my face. They emptied my accounts, faked my signature, called me unstable. Was I really the problem? Or was I just finally done being used? I should have known something was off the moment I stepped inside. My mother's smile was too tight, my father's wine glass too full, and my sister, well, Delphine was already perched on the couch like a smug queen awaiting applause. Clyde barely looked up from his phone. No one mentioned the gift basket in my hands, or the fact I'd just driven 2 hours from Flagstaff to be there. "Sit down," Delphine said, smirking. "We need to talk." I hadn't even taken off my coat. The text in the family group chat said, "Family dinner 6 p.m. sharp." Nothing about a damn intervention. "What's going on?" I asked, setting the basket down on the coffee table. "Did someone die?" My father set his glass down a little too deliberately. "We had a vote," he said. Delphine grinned wider. "You're out. Of the family trip." I blinked. "What are you talking about?" "You're not coming to Sedona next month," she replied. "We think it's for the best," my mother chimed in, not meeting my eyes. "It's about the group dynamic, Marla. You're always tense. Last year, you embarrassed all of us yelling at that waitress over the tip." "They charged us double," I said, trying to stay calm. "You're welcome for noticing." "We just want peace," she said softly, like I was the one setting the place on fire. I looked around the room, the same people I'd booked flights for, paid deposits for, moved heaven and earth for. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You're kicking me out of a trip I organized and paid for?" "You offered," Dad shrugged. "I didn't offer to be excluded from it." Delphine crossed her legs like she was on some fake reality court show. "You've changed. You're obsessed with boundaries, budgets, rules. It's exhausting." My laugh came out flat. "You mean I stopped letting you spend my money without limits?" She waved me off like I was being dramatic. That's when I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" my mom asked, her tone suddenly sharp. "Ending the party," I said, scrolling. "You'll want to check your phones in a minute." Delphine's phone buzzed, then Dad's. "What did you do?" she hissed. "I canceled the travel card. You know, the one linked to all your tickets, hotels, and that villa with the infinity pool you just had to have." "You can't do that." I looked her dead in the eye. "I just did." Clyde finally looked up, blinking like someone coming out of a fog. "But the trip's in 3 weeks." "Then you better start crowdfunding. You're all about manifesting abundance, right?" My mother's voice cracked. "Don't make this ugly, Marla." "Oh, it already is." I grabbed my keys, turned, and walked out the door. They sat there stunned, still in their designer chairs, wine glasses trembling, watching their Tuscany dream dissolve in real time. By the time I got home, the silence was deafening. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that wraps around your ribs and presses until you can't breathe right. I dropped my keys on the counter and went straight to my desk. I didn't even take off my shoes. I opened my laptop and pulled up the joint financial account I'd used for the trip. I wasn't looking to torture myself. I just needed clarity, needed to see the numbers. And there it was. A transaction I didn't recognize. $3,000 withdrawn from the college fund, the one I started for Delphine's daughter back when she was still calling me the best aunt ever. The description read, "Wellness Experience, Sedona, Arizona." I stared at the screen, my hands frozen over the keyboard. She used her own daughter's future as a luxury spa piggy bank. And she used my name to do it. I should have seen this coming, should have realized sooner. But the twisted part? That wasn't even the worst discovery of the morning. I decided to finally deal with the DMV. I'd been meaning to update my vehicle registration. I clicked through the forms, entered my VIN, and waited. Then it popped up. Co-owner, Lorraine Bittner. My mother. My throat tightened. I remembered the day she offered to help me get the car, told me she had better credit, that we'd just get it done quicker if she co-signed. I believed her. I'd been driving that car for years thinking it was mine. Turns out, she still held the keys. I closed the laptop gently, like slamming it would somehow make this worse. Then I sat there, staring at the wall, while memories started lining up like ghosts at a funeral. Every time she said, "I'm doing this for your own good." Every time she said, "You need me." Every time Delphine said, "You're too uptight," right after maxing out my card. It wasn't love. It was leverage. They didn't want me in the trip because I started saying no, because I stopped being easy to manipulate. They didn't just vote me out of Sedona. They'd been voting me out of my own life for years. I didn't sleep much that weekend. My apartment was too quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't soothe. It accuses. I spent most of Saturday on autopilot, cleaning a spotless kitchen, rereading emails that didn't need answering. By Sunday evening, I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. The notification came just after dinner, a message from Aunt Verna. "You should see this." I clicked without thinking. It was a forwarded email, sent by my mother, to every living relative who still shared our last name. The subject line? "Regarding Marla." My stomach dropped. She didn't just vent, she curated a hit piece. "Marla's been struggling with emotional regulation for years. We've tried to support her, but it's clear she needs space and professional help. We love her, but sometimes love means distance." There was more. Hints that I had abandoned the family. Accusations I was unstable. She even included a screenshot of an old private text I sent her during a breakdown years ago. Out of context. Weaponized. I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. She wasn't angry. She was strategic. They weren't just isolating me. They were rewriting who I was. I stood up, walked to the window, trying to ground myself in the streetlights below. But memories I hadn't asked for started bubbling up. 15 years old, crying in my bedroom after failing a test, and Mom snapping, "You're too dramatic. No one's dying." 22, confiding in her about anxiety. And her response, "Don't embarrass the family, Marla." 31, asking for one weekend to myself and Delphine calling me selfish in front of her friends. They hadn't just painted me as unstable. They'd spent years handing out brushes and showing people how to fill in the blanks. The phone rang. It was Verna again. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I never believed all of it. But now, seeing that email..." I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. "You don't deserve this," she continued. "But Marla, they're not done. People like that, once they get control of the story, they won't stop. Not unless someone tells the truth louder." I looked at the laptop, still glowing. "Then it's time I start writing," I said. I didn't even have time to close my laptop before my phone buzzed again. It was the family group chat. "Dinner tonight? Family only. 7 p.m. Be on time. No names, no explanations, just that." I stared at it for a second, then checked the timestamp. Sent 2 minutes after Aunt Verna hung up. Coincidence? Not with this family. A separate text followed, this time from Clyde. "I'm going, just be prepared." Prepared for what? Another ambush disguised as pot roast? I sat in the parking lot outside their house for 5 full minutes before stepping out. My hands were steady. My thoughts weren't. I'd rehearsed boundaries in my head all the way there. I knew what I wouldn't let them do again. Or so I thought. Inside, everything was too neat, too staged. The dining table was set like a magazine spread. Delphine was already seated, glass of wine in hand, wearing that syrupy grin she saved for fake apologies. I took the only empty chair, not bothering to make small talk. The meal started quiet, surface smiles, forced laughter. Then Delphine put her fork down. "We're glad you came," she said sweetly. "Really, Marla, but we're also concerned." I raised an eyebrow. "About what exactly?" "Your fixation on money." She sipped her wine. "It's not healthy." My mother nodded, eyes full of manufactured worry. "Sometimes control issues mask deeper wounds. You don't have to carry everything alone." "Are you..." I blinked. "Are you diagnosing me over dinner?" Delphine leaned forward. "We're saying maybe it's time to talk to someone. A professional." There it was. The script. Public shaming with a hint of compassion, just enough to twist the knife. I looked around the table. A couple of cousins nodded along, not meeting my gaze. I took out my phone and tapped it a few times, keeping my voice steady. You know, I said, if I'm so unstable, maybe you shouldn't be using my streaming accounts. Delphine stiffened. Funny how your Netflix profile was active last night, I added. Bridgerton binge, red wine emoji, hashtag self-care. Sound familiar? A few muffled chuckles. One cousin even spit out her drink. Delphine's face flushed. That's not the point? It is to me, I said calmly, because every time I draw a line, you accuse me of being difficult, but you never seem to mind using my passwords. The room went silent. You think this is about TV shows? Delphine snapped. No, I said, standing. I think this is about patterns, and I'm done pretending not to notice. After I walked out of that dinner, I drove home in silence. No music, no calls, just the low hum of tires on asphalt and the sound of my thoughts rearranging themselves. I got home a little after 10. I showered, made tea, and slipped into bed, thinking maybe, just maybe, that mess was behind me. It wasn't. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. A text from Layla, one of my coworkers. She never messaged this late. Her text was short. Hey, is this real? Attached was a link. I clicked. It was a GoFundMe campaign titled, Healing After Family Trauma, Help Delphine Start Fresh, created by Lorraine Bittner, my mother. The description, a carefully crafted fiction. After years of emotional abuse and financial abandonment by her sister Marla, Delphine is rebuilding her life. Every dollar helps her recover from the pain. I sat up slowly, staring at the screen like it might vanish if I blinked hard enough. Hundreds of dollars already raised. Donations from people I hadn't spoken to since high school. Comments like, "We love you, Delphine. Stay strong." Marla was always cold. This confirms it. I didn't cry. I laughed. That sharp, bitter kind of laugh that scrapes your throat on the way out. They didn't just go public, they went viral. My fingers moved on instinct. I took screenshots, every line, every lie. I saved the donation list, the timestamps, the share counts. Then I opened my email. Subject, cease and desist. To Lorraine Bittner. Body, take the fundraiser down within 24 hours. I have full documentation. Screenshots, transaction logs, your account activity. Next move is mine. And it won't be private. I hit send, leaned back, and let the silence settle. I'd tried boundaries. I'd tried grace. Now I was done trying. By sunrise, the air outside still clung to desert chill, but my skin felt flushed from everything boiling underneath. I opened the front door to grab the mail, expecting junk flyers and overdue coupons. What I got was a thick manila envelope with no return address, only the crisp, sterile stamp of a law firm. I tore it open in my kitchen. Inside, a formal letter from a firm representing Lorraine and Delphine. The words were ridiculous enough to read like satire. Unjust disruption of travel arrangements, financial harm, emotional distress. They were suing me, or at least threatening to, demanding reimbursement for non-refundable bookings and loss of emotional well-being caused by an unprovoked financial severance. I actually laughed, out loud, alone in my apartment. But then I did what I always do when I'm cornered. I sat down and opened my bank app. Something told me this wasn't the end of it. And I was right. There it was. An $8,000 loan processed under my name. I hadn't applied for any credit increase or personal line in years. I clicked through the transaction log. Date of application? 2 weeks ago. Signature? Mine. Digitally forged. IP address? Not mine. Scottsdale. Delphine's apartment complex. She didn't just use me. She impersonated me. This wasn't pettiness anymore. This was a felony. By 9 a.m., I was seated in a leather chair across from a real attorney, someone who didn't care about family drama, only facts and fraud. I laid it all out. The GoFundMe lies, the lawsuit threat, and now the forged loan. She flipped through the printouts, calm as stone. Then she said, "This isn't just unethical, it's criminal." And just like that, the narrative flipped. Not the black sheep, not the overreacting sister, not the emotional daughter. I was a plaintiff with evidence. As I left the office, I pulled out my phone and typed a message. To Delphine message. You should check your notifications. They won't be from Instagram this time. Friday came like the calm before a thunderstorm, the kind of quiet where even the wind seemed to hesitate. At exactly 6:30, I pulled up to my parents' house again. This time, not as a daughter, not as a guest. I was here to present evidence. The message had said, "Family dinner, one last chance to settle this civilly." But judging by the pristine table setup and the neutral party seated next to my mother, Dad's old friend Alan, a retired lawyer, I knew it wasn't dinner. It was theater. Lorraine greeted me with a sugar-coated smile, as if none of this had happened. "We're just here to clear the air, sweetheart." Delphine barely looked up from her laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard. Clyde sat stiffly at the far end, eyes glued to his water glass. I didn't sit. Instead, I calmly placed my iPad on the sideboard and connected it to the living room TV. No one spoke as the first slide appeared. A screenshot of the GoFundMe dashboard, then IP address logs, Lorraine's router linked to the fundraiser setup, then my bank's login activity timestamped to Delphine's address. Finally, a security clip from the resort I booked for Tuscany, showing Delphine checking in, handing over a card with my name. I turned to face them. "You lied, you used me, and then you tried to erase me." Lorraine opened her mouth, but Clyde stood up first. "She's not wrong," he said. "I knew. About the cards, the fundraiser, all of it." Silence. "She told me if I said anything, I'd be written out of the will." I looked at him, not with anger but understanding. "And now I know who you are." Delphine slammed her laptop shut. "You ungrateful freak. Is this what you wanted? To humiliate us?" I didn't flinch. "No, I wanted peace. But you don't leave people like me in peace. So I chose justice." Saturday morning, I woke up before the sun. The house was quiet, but my mind wasn't. The weight of everything, the dinner, the confessions, the betrayal, sat on my chest like a stone. I made coffee, not out of habit but ceremony. Today was the day I burned the bridge, not out of anger, but to make sure no one else could cross it back to me. I started with the practical, called the bank, filed the final fraud report. The woman on the other end said, "I'm so sorry this happened to you." I almost cried just hearing a stranger believe me. Then I called the travel agency, told them to remove any and all family-linked profiles from the master account. Then came the rest. Insurance, streaming, vehicle registration, everything they touched, I cut off. Clyde got one text from me, just one line. "I wish you'd chosen better. Don't contact me again." I stared at the screen for a moment, then hit send. By mid-morning, I was loading boxes into my trunk. Photo albums, legal documents, keepsakes, things that mattered. Everything else could stay behind. I drove across town to a small real estate office and signed a lease for a one-bedroom unit in Flagstaff. The rent was higher than I wanted, the walls were beige, and the view overlooked a parking lot. But the keys were mine, just mine. As I pulled into a storage unit lot later that afternoon, I opened the family group chat one last time, scrolled past months of emojis, guilt trips, sarcastic digs. Then I hit leave conversation. I smiled. Not out of revenge, out of relief. That evening, as I unpacked kitchen utensils in my new space, an email pinged. Lorraine, subject, "Let's not end this like strangers." The message was short, manipulative in its warmth. "Please don't let this destroy everything. You know we love you." Attached was a scan of a personal check, $10,000. I stared at it, then printed it out, flipped it over, signed the back in bold black ink, void, and below that I wrote, "You don't buy forgiveness, you earn it." I mailed it back first thing the next morning. The envelope slid from my fingers into the mailbox with a soft thud, and with it, the last thread tying me to them. 3 weeks passed. Quietly, purposefully. Each morning, sunlight stretched across the wood floors of my apartment like it belonged there. I brewed my own coffee. No family text threads, no guilt-drenched emojis, just the hiss of the kettle and the scent of something finally mine. I donated the heavy things first. The oak mirror from Mom's house, the over-embroidered quilt that somehow always smelled like someone else's control. Then the smaller ghosts followed, framed photos, greeting cards signed "Love, Mom," with conditions tucked between the lines. I wasn't angry anymore, I was clearing space. News traveled. Not through me, but through the same whispers they once used to shrink me. Delphine's brand collaboration tanked after someone tipped off the sponsor. Brian cut her off. Some said he didn't like being linked to fraud allegations. Aunts stopped attending Lorraine's brunches. One even unfollowed her on Facebook. Small things. But they stacked up like truth finally finding its footing. Clyde emailed me a week ago. It was long, remorseful, filled with confessions and regret. "You were right," he wrote. "I was afraid. I let them scare me into silence, and I hurt you for it." I didn't reply. Not out of spite. I just didn't owe him a reply. Last Thursday, I stopped by a local bookstore cafe to grab a journal. As I waited for my order, a woman approached me. A baby balanced on her hip. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you Marla Shipman?" I nodded, uncertain. "My sister. You helped her once, years ago, with rent. She told me about you, about what you've done lately. She said you taught her what boundaries look like." The baby giggled. I smiled back, throat tight. I walked home with the journal unopened. That night, I sat on my couch, wrote my name on the first page, and took a deep breath. I wasn't their ATM. I wasn't their scapegoat. I wasn't their secret. I was free. And if you're still here with me, listening, thank you. I didn't tell this story for pity. I told it because someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe you've spent years carrying the weight of keeping the peace. Maybe you've mistaken silence for strength. I did too. But here's what I've learned. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you choose to close when what's on the other side keeps setting your life on fire. You don't owe anyone access to your peace just because they share your last name. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect, choice, and truth. And healing? It doesn't always come with hugs and reconciliation. Sometimes it looks like a one-bedroom apartment, a full cup of coffee, and the courage to say, no more. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from people who were supposed to love you? Do you believe family ties should always be honored, no matter what? Or do you believe in starting your own rules of family? Let me know in the comments. If this video spoke to you, if it hit something real, drop a 1 in the comments, or tell me where you're watching from. And hey, if you didn't like this story, I still want to hear from you. Let me know why, and tell me where in the world you found this video. And if you want to hear more stories that go beyond the surface, ones that hit the heart, challenge your thinking, and maybe even change your life, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.